good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 2025 meeting of Utah Valley Amateur Radio Club. All right, don't make me be like the kindergarten teacher.
Just do it, Joe.
What's that?
Just do it. 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome everybody. Happy New Year, by the way. Let's start off the night's meeting with, my name is Joe. Like I said earlier, I'm conducting the meeting. We're going to start off with Carl. Let's hear it for Carl. Carl's J-Pulls had a wedding. The wedding was lousy, but I heard the reception was great.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
I need this?
Yeah.
Okay. I reviewed this a little bit. Oh, this must be for the camera, huh? I reviewed this a little bit, and all the information is not correct here, but it's close. Let's see, where am I at?
Hit the space bar.
Space bar. I'm going backwards. Okay. All right. Recap on the Santa's net. That was awesome. Did you do it the second night, Jody?
I did.
I wasn't sure because I had a commitment the second night and I was not able to be there. But is Dave here? No. Dave did the first night and he was awesome. My grandkids loved that. That little thing, I was saying this on the net last night, it may seem to us like it's just some stupid little thing. But honestly, the kids love that. And the kids get on there and talk to Santa Claus, let them know what they want for Christmas. They get a kick out of being on the radio. That is awesome. And I know that I've told the story a bunch of times. It started way back, 10 years ago or something with little Ann Mortensen when she, little sister, didn't come about, and we tried to, the club tried to make her happy, and we put together a basket, and there was donations and cards and money and you name it for this little girl. And Jody delivered that. And that was the start of the Santa Net because we've been doing the Santa Net every year since then. And some other clubs have copied us. People that have moved out of here have got other clubs to start to copy us. And so, yeah, I know that we're probably not the first, but we did a good job on it. And so I commend everybody that was involved in that. That was awesome. And if you heard it, you know what I mean. If you didn't hear it, come back call it Christmas Adam and Christmas Eve. It's the 23rd and 24th. We do it for an hour, and it was awesome. So anyway, having said that, appreciate everybody's participation and bringing their grandkids into it. And there was even some adults that had to jump in there and stuff like that. So the next thing here is the 7-6 barbecue. I don't really want to. Okay, the reason I don't really want to is all this is right except for the date. The date is tentative. We haven't got a confirmation on that date. It's pending in Highland City. And so, could happen. That's the date we applied for. When they drop the flag, Len applies for that date, and then he has to wait for it to be confirmed. Usually, what happens, some councilman or somebody comes along and says, I've got a daughter-in-law that's got a sister that's getting married and we want that date and you got bumped. And that's usually the way it goes. But we're still trying for that date. We don't like to push it up too close to field day. And we don't like to have it back it up too close to, we don't like to back it up too close to Memorial Day either and stuff like that. And right there, it's right at the cusp of the cold and the warm weather usually. Anyway, so we'll see what happens there on that. I think that's all I've got. Well, there'll be more information on that when it comes about. So, is that all I got? That's all I got, Joe.
Okay. All right, thank you, Carl. Let's hear it for Carl.
Thank you.
Yay! Next up is me, activities. Coming up at the end of this month, Winter Field Day. Winter Field Day will be at the Linden Marina. If you don't know where that's at, just go into Google, put in Linden Marina, and it takes you right to it. Nice thing about it is, we used to have to go left, right, left, up into it. Now, you get off at 1600 North in Orem and head toward the lake, and it'll take you right to it. They put that nice big 4-lane road in there. Now, things we're going to do is 8 o'clock in the morning. That's when we're going to do setup. So if those bringing trailers could have their trailers there. I know Noji made arrangements to get your trailer also. So 8 o'clock we'll do setup. Noon we start transmitting. We're going to go to noon on Sunday. And then we'll have breakdown after that. The best thing about it is, at 5 p.m. on Saturday, we're going to have pizza. I'll quit moving around. we're going to have a pizza party. So the club buys pizza and we all gather outside. Yeah, Matt.
I'm really bad at hearing. How many stations are we going to have on one?
3. We're going to have Carl's trailer with voice, Cindy's trailer with voice, and my trailer will have digital. Okay, that's what chat. If you want to learn some, I don't think it's FT8. What do they use? JT65? FT8. I know there's.
You can't use FT8 on field day.
Yeah, you can't use FT8 on winter field day. I have to look it back up, but whatever he does, I think it's JT65 or. Carl, give me a call. Tell me what mode we use, if you're watching. Okay, or text me. Chad, what did I say? Carl, Chad. Starts with C. I'm getting that close. The other thing is, winter field day is actually start transmitting at 9 a.m. in the morning on Saturday to go to 3 p.m. on Sunday. Now, we're not going to do the full 30 hours. Okay, I watched a YouTube broadcast, I guess they call it, last night, and they were talking to the guys who are running winter field day, and they said they did that because there's some clubs that go to a park to set up, and the park closes at 4 p.m. So he said on the East Coast, winter field day would normally start at 2 p.m., so they only get about an hour and a half where they got to break everything down and leave. So they started earlier to go longer. So if you got your setup, if you got your HF rig at home, want to play a little bit on winter field day, give some people some contacts, do that, then come down and join us at noon.
We're operating 3 mobile.
What's that?
We're operating 3 mobile.
Yeah, we're operating 3 mobiles.
3M.
3M, 3 mic, not 3 alpha like we do it with summer. They got different things. All right, next one. Summer field day. Now is the time to start planning for summer field day for Saturday, June 28th until June 29th. That's when we go from noon to midnight. I'm going to be up there like about a week and a half earlier. So I like to put my trailer there, get our spot, and people come camp around me all the time, and then they all leave, and then people start bringing their stuff up. I go up there. So if you want to bring up your trailer or set up your campsite the week before, so you have a spot, that's why I go up there. I provide security. I'm well armed. I'll have a 6-year-old with me. And Carl's usually up there with me. And then...
You bring up a couple of trailers too.
Yeah. They bring up a couple of trailers. So if you want to come and get your trailer set up early, make sure you have a spot.
Where's Trout Creek?
Trout Creek. Okay, if you go to our website, it's north of Strawberry.
Same as last year?
Same as last year. Same as the past few years. If you look at our website, uvarc.club, it gives you a map of how to get there. Plus, we'll post it on our Facebook page.
It's only about a half a mile off not even a half a mile, quarter of a mile off the Highway 40 right there.
Yeah.
Sign says Trout Creek.
Yep.
You can see us from the road, basically.
It goes from having my trailer there first to field day weekend. It looks like a small city. And then we'll also have the potluck at about 5 p.m. there also, so that stuff will come up later. All right, for service, Gavin, where are you? I saw you coming. There you go. It's all yours. All yours. Gavin's going to talk about service.
Service side. So
There you go, sir.
thank you. So as you can see, I'm wearing my vest from the UCares, and I know I see a lot of good faces out here, UCares members. I want to invite you guys, everybody who got their brand new radios, come on out with us. This summer, we've got a fun, 20 events that we're going to be putting on to practice our radio emergency communications. We have a brand new website, so it's easier to sign up. Anybody who's not a UCares member, just go to UCares, that's UCARES.org, and you'll be able to sign up right off the main homepage. So it's really nice. We do have our nets. Our nets are a little bit later. I think they're on here, actually. There we go. Our nets are on Tuesdays. We try to keep people guessing in a way. We've got a lot of repeaters out there that are supported by the Utah County Sheriff's Department. And so when we do check-ins, it's not a typical net. We like to move things around. We'll have people in the northern part of the county check in on certain frequencies. So you kind of have to pay attention and listen and then get to the right spot so that you're checking in at the appropriate time. So this is a lot of fun. There's the website down at the bottom. Come join us. We've got parades. We have bike races. Well, not too many bike races. That's Utah SAG. But we got half marathons out there. And I know I've seen a lot of faces out here who've braved the early mornings on the ultra marathons. So a lot of fun. So hopefully just invite you to come out, find out more about us. Yeah.
So I'm interested. Probably not going to be ready to really like get involved till probably towards the end of this year.
Yeah.
Is it still worthwhile to like join right now and kind of like watch and kind of learn?
Absolutely. The joining part is not just to join for the event, which they're there. It's opportunities. UCARES tries to just create opportunities for all throughout the year to just practice emergency communications. There are people who sign up for UCARES and have no time to participate on any activity. And I still encourage that only so that you are connected with the emergency communications in Utah County. Now, of course, in some type of a disaster, ultimately the cities are the one that take the primary role. UCARES helps and supports the cities, hopefully in all our training, so that if Provo or American Fork, they need amateur radio people, you have the standard and the abilities to, the discipline to run that. So if you have no time because you're already doing field days and all that, sign up anyway, stay with our emails. It's great. Yeah, question?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
But last night on the net, Ron Edwards is our net control for this month.
Okay.
And I know he's one of the, I told him, I said, yeah, I know you're one of the upper echelons of UCARES.
Yeah.
So I said, why doesn't UCARES advertise on our net? On the 7 Sixers net is kind of a quasi UVARC net.
Right.
So the people on cross-pollinated both ways, but we always announce all the nets. And he goes,
Right.
you know, that's a good idea, I never thought of it. And he actually did an impromptu announcement last night on UCARES, and also sales pitches it. And a lot of guys that get on the radio, I know it was my first experience, turn on my radio, don't even know what an offset or a PL tone or anything else is. But I heard the 7.6 net, and so it may be somebody's first opportunity to hear about you guys. So somebody ought to, be a little, proactive about advertising on the 7 Sixers net.
Yeah.
It has a big footprint.
I totally agree. We need to do better on advertising on a lot of the nets. It's just a matter of recruiting. And if you are a UCARES member and you are a regular participant in, let's say, the New Ham net or the Ladies net, and you don't have, we don't have to advertise it. Up in the leadership of UCARES, you're a member of UCARES, push it out there. So it just kind of help out with that. It's a great organization. They have a levels of certification that really help to prepare you and train you in gaining better emergency communication skills. So just invite you to join in. Yes?
Is UCARES and Utah County CERT connected together?
No, they're not. Utah County, or the CERT program is generally ran by different cities. In fact, they don't really have a huge communication component in the CERT program. So we encourage people to do CERT, but they are two separate organizations.
There is a certain net.
Yes, and there is a CERT net as well. Any other questions? Great. All right, thank you.
All right, here's another, hold on, don't go. Here's another advantage. If you join UCARES, you can, turn around, you can buy with your call sign on it. And you just don't have to wear it for just UCARES information. Sorry, Trevor. You just don't have to wear it for UCARES. You can wear it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a nice vest. You got to get out, repair your tires, put it on. People can see you're a ham radio operator, can tell your call sign.
Yeah, you see a couple of them wearing them out here tonight.
I wear mine, and people look at me if I'm repairing my tire and goes, why does he have his license plate on his vest? Just goes with that vehicle. Thanks, Gavin. All right, so on a more personal note, these are the people that have made the plunge. What is this thing doing? Let me go back. Go back up. Hold on. These are the... Okay, there's the new hams. I swear I'm not touching it. Okay, let's go back up. Page up. There's UCARES.
There we go. There you go.
All right, so these are the new hams. If you are here, please stand up. Nobody's here tonight? Okay, so we can, if you know who these people are, you get in contact with them, invite them to UVARC. It's free. All right, congratulations to them. And then our upgrades. If you are here tonight, please stand up. Lawrence. All right, some more in the back. You too. What's your call sign?
KK7RTY. Kilo 7 Papa Victor X-ray.
All right, so yep. So you're Morley? And Chase. There we go. Right there. All right, congratulations, everybody. All right, so I think, Noji?
Sir,
Oh, there you are. You're doing the presentation, right?
I think so.
All right. So we'll now turn it over to Noji for our presentation on NVIS. No visitors inside. Oh, no. Near vertical incident antenna. I can't remember what it stands for. That's why we have Noji.
There's no G in my name.
There we go. Thank you.
Thanks.
You don't want it?
I got one.
Oh, you got one. Okay.
Yep. Anyway, let's see if we can make this official. I got good news and bad news.
You have to come back next month?
Wait, what are you saying?
Or we have to come back next month?
Yeah, you got to come back next month no matter what. There we go. Ta-da, there we go. So the bad news is our presenter couldn't be here today. He called me up and he sounded like a frog talking through a paper bag. You know, I think there's an app for that. But at any rate, he sounded really horrible. And I actually believe him. He was really looking for it. He's been preparing for this presentation for several months, and he's pretty knowledgeable. He's very good about NVIS. And I was really looking forward to hearing from him. Clyde, welcome. And, and Janet, you know. But at any rate, I try to welcome those who aren't licensed yet, you know, that's all, you know. Anyway, but so I didn't welcome you, Cindy Lee.
I thought that'd be funny.
That'd be a first. So, but Larry could be here as he's sick, so I decided that I would just pull out something out of my back pocket and do it. I was actually going to, so I'm going to swap with him during the presentation. So I'm going to have him do his thing in June. I was scheduled to do mine in June, so I'm doing mine tonight, but it wasn't quite prepared, so I threw it together as fast as I could, and here we are. So it's something that people have been asking about for a long time, and that's how to protect against lightning. And, you know, I mean, if lightning strikes, what are you going to do? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if Godzilla wants to step on your house, you know, well, there goes your house, right? But, you know, are there things you can do maybe to protect yourself somewhat? I mean, I don't know too many people's houses that actually have burned down who's had antennas on top of it. Maybe you do. I don't know too many. I do know of one guy that was struck. I knew of several people that had been struck by lightning. And I'll tell you more about that as we go along. But do you think, I don't know, repeaters that are stuck way in the mountaintop, do you think they ever get struck by lightning?
Sure, some do.
They all do. You know, do they keep running though? Yeah, most of them do. I mean, recently we had a repeater go down by Frisco Peak and another one by Cedar City, and they got struck by lightning, and you know, they had a controller go out, but it wasn't too bad. Went in there, fixed the controller, and up they went the next day. So, you know, it's not horrible. Like if my house got hit by lightning, well, we'd be burnt to the ground, I'd be homeless. So it's not quite the same thing. But anyway, I do want to talk a little bit about lightning. And so we finally found a whiteboard, thanks to Shireen, who is our sponsor here tonight at Sage and Plow. The only problem with this whiteboard is that every so often this little message will pop up, and we'll just have to kind of live with that. And I'll just reach over and pop it off and kind of be good with it as much as I can. So if you can, you know, bear with that, we'll live with the whiteboard. Anyway, I want to get into it. So let's go to the actual thing here. That was a precursor. Ta-da, lightning protection. Okay. Okay, I'm glad I'm doing this presentation because I've got control of the time. And I can spend 5 hours on this thing and not be done. So since I've only got about 40 minutes, I'm going to be quick about it and I'm going to miss a lot of things. I'm going to kind of gloss over a few things. However, you have questions, I know you do, and you will have more questions as we go along. If you don't ask the questions, I'm not the kind of person that's going to say, hey, do you have any questions? Because I know you do. Just ask them, just blurt it out, please. If you don't ask them, they won't get answered, and we have wasted our time. So I'm glad you're here with me tonight. But we'll talk about lightning. And so exactly what is lightning? It's a massive static discharge. I don't have this memorized, sorry, so I'm going to have to keep looking at my own slides. So whether lightning is not actually AC or DC, it's called a transient. Those of us who in electrical blah, 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 kind of know this kind of thing because it's not just one kind of signal that we're all used to by plugging into the wall. This transient, because it's a transient, it's just a boom, flash and you're gone, okay? Kind of. It acts weird. It acts differently, has different rules than other things we're used to. And because of that, there's a lot to talk about. Lightning comes in multiple bursts of energy, not just simply one thing, okay? When lightning happens, well, does lightning strike twice in the same place?
Yeah.
Sometimes as much as 500 times in one place, right? Yeah, in one flash.
Earlier, the Spanish would look for places where it was striking a lot because that would indicate there might be a gold vein or...
Might be a gold vein, all right? Did it strike a lot at your house?
No.
No gold there, okay. Remind me not to go to your house then, if I'm looking for gold. Tell me your name again.
David Adams.
David Adams, okay, welcome David. I'm gonna have to ask you again in about 5 minutes, forgive me.
That's okay.
All right, so lightning is a transient. So static is what lightning starts out being. So what exactly is static electricity? It starts out being free electrons. They don't cost very much. But what that means is that you've got something that has a lot of electrons stuck on them. And if electrons are stuck to something, that means that that thing is ionized. For instance, a balloon. A balloon does not conduct electricity because it's made of, I don't know, latex or plastic or something, okay? And so because of that nature of that thing, what happens is balloons will end up collecting electrons from other things that give off these electrons, and that ionizes the rubber or whatever on the balloon. And so it just builds up, wait, Afton. Lila, you combed your hair. I couldn't tell, so sorry. No, her hair looks different, it's pulled me. All right, so anyway, speaking of hair, so your hair collects a lot of static too. Mine does. Every time I comb it in the morning, I just look like, bozo or something, all right? But that's because I collect electrons, even if I don't want to. And the reason they collect them is because they don't conduct electricity. My hair does not conduct. I don't know, Linda, do you have conductive hair? Because you have like silver in your hair, maybe that conducts electricity. And that's why it's not staticky, right? Like mine is. Yeah, cream rinse will take care of that. So free electrons are floating around all over the place. And they collect on things that don't conduct. But let me just tell you a little bit more about that. So what happens is that we have a flow of electrons as soon as it contacts a conductor. I don't know if my slide has this. So I won't get into too many dirty details, but inside atoms, okay, you've got these layers of bands, okay? You've got the S shell and the P shell and the D shell, blah, 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 and all these things, and the electrons are flying around in these different orbitals inside the atoms. But you also have these bands that the electrons are moving in, okay? One of them is a valence band, a valence shell, and that's what allows the molecules to share electrons with each other so they can bind with each other. Another one is called a conductance band, and that's what our interest is here. And the conductance band is what determines whether the atom is a metal or not. And that allows electricity to flow. So as long as the conductance band is not filled, and it's allows the atom to freely give up or accept electrons, electricity can flow through that. And that's what makes a metal conduct. So a balloon molecule, what's a balloon molecule? I don't know, maybe latex, I don't know. So, probably has all their conductance band electrons filled. And so therefore, when another electron comes along, it doesn't accept it, and so it doesn't conduct electricity. Whereas something like aluminum does, because its conductance band can take it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, and that's how electrons flow, is because they get involved in the conductance band of these atoms. And static, well, there's a lot of these electrons get floating around and eventually get tied to things. So what you got then is you got a balloon that collects these electrons, right? And they don't go anywhere really unless you blow on it. And maybe they'll float around, I don't know. But then all of a sudden I ask Cliff to open his mouth, open your mouth. And I contact his feeling, and boom, all these electrons go right into his mouth, and contact the feeling, go into the conductance band, and boom, and conducts through his body into his feet to the ground, and he feels this jolt, right? Should we try that?
No, you don't.
I'll scuff my feet.
I bite.
Okay, yeah, he bites. So I better not. So yeah, I mean, lots of these electrons come off the balloon into the metal because it goes into the conductance band and away they go. So this is electrical energy we're talking about. And okay, atomic conduction, I am talking about that. There we go. So static is generated by the free electrons that accumulate. So this needs to be updated a little bit, but so we tend to think that as we scuff our feet on the carpet, that we're generating, static electricity. That's somewhat true, but not quite, okay? So there's a thing called triboelectric effect, and what that means is that you rub against something and some of those electrons will actually come off and ionize whatever you left behind and pick up that. Well, it turns out that researchers discovered that you don't always have to rub things in order to get the electrons off. You can just come close to it. Like if I came close to Cliff's hair, I can get some of the electrons to come into my hand, and it'll actually attract on my hand, or maybe my hand's electrons will go onto him. If I can keep him from biting me, then I've successfully transferred those electrons. So proximity and sometimes friction also can transfer those electrons. So the spark is created by the conductive air that's ionized by the electric field. And this is weird because I swear I updated this slide. There's a slight difference between an arc and a spark, okay? Kind of splitting hairs a little bit here, but just so we can get our vernacular correct. A spark is just something that happens just like that. Boop. It just happens once and it's gone. An arc is like a continuous spark. It happens and it keeps going like that, and it just goes and goes. Hey, come on in. If you can find a place on the floor. So, but yeah, an arc is just a long-lasting spark is all it is really. It's important because as I talk about it, I might mix up the two a little bit and just kind of throw it out, and you'll just have to forgive my non-technical vernacular. But anyway, this spark is created by the conductive air that's ionized by electric field. And the electric field is all important in what we're talking about when we say lightning, because the electric field is what determines how lightning works. And I know that most people don't have a good feel about the electric field and what that really is, okay? And that's okay. Just understand that if I have this balloon here and I've got, a ground wire, then there's a difference in potential between this balloon and the ground because this balloon's collected a bunch of electrons, okay? And so because of that, there is a field difference between these two, and that field is the electric field, and that's what tries to connect the two. And if I get them close enough, I might see a spark. Will a balloon ever spark on a thing? I don't know, maybe not. But I can try. So, but when you see like in the picture here, this arc that you're seeing with this little thing, I hope that's not from my house, but if it is, it's going to burn my house down. So, at any rate, so what happens is there's no conductor between those two wires that are, that are arcing here. And so what you've got then is that the electric field between those 2 points have ionized the air, and the air then is being used as the conductor because the air got ionized. The air molecules turn into ions, and the ions create the path, and away you go. And that's how lightning travels, through the air.
Is moist air more conductive than dry air?
Moist air is a little more conductive. Humid air is a little more conductive. But you don't have to have any humidity or moisture at all in order to have lightning. Isn't that true? Absolutely, yeah. Can you have lightning on the moon?
If you had To generate the electricity charge.
Can you have lightning without clouds?
Well, you've got to have something generating the charge.
Something generating a charge. Yeah. Can lightning happen on the moon? That was my first question.
I don't think so.
So probably not.
Well, what's going to generate the charge?
Doesn't have an atmosphere.
What's gonna transmit?
The moon has no atmosphere that I know of. Okay.
If it doesn't have an atmosphere, then it wouldn't be able to.
There's nothing to transmit
See it.
that current.
No ions.
No,
So you mean if I take a few rocks and rub them together, I still can't get any charge?
You won't get any fire either.
So it might. So the triboelectric effect in that case might actually come into play and might help make the charge. I've never been on the moon to try that out. Next time I go there, I might be tempted to do that very thing. There was a hand. So, about 3,000 volts per millimeter is what it takes for electricity to jump. And what I mean by that is that STP, standard temperature and pressure, which is a laboratory condition that exists nowhere on the Earth. But so at that temperature and pressure, and also humidity, other conditions as well exist. When you've got that, then it's about 3,000 volts per millimeter is what it takes for electrical energy to jump. You know, is that exact? No. And the conditions can change that completely, all right? But that's the general idea. But wait a minute. 1 millimeter, 3,000 volts. So if I saw a lightning strike that went 500 kilometers, or 500 meters, that's a half a kilometer. How many volts is that? That's a bull hunch. Yeah. So it's a big voltage there that happened that was set up between the electric field created by the cloud versus the ground, okay? By the way, which way does lightning go, from the ground to cloud or something else? Or cloud to ground?
depends on which one is, which way it's forward.
I heard a mumbling. Which way does it go?
Okay, well, let me just, maybe I have a slide for this, okay? But, you know, again, I don't have this all memorized, but I know that the most common strikes are between cloud to cloud. That's the number one most common. The second one is from cloud to ground, because clouds are going in the atmosphere and it's collecting all these electrons. And with this excess of electrons, then that electron collection has to discharge somewhere. So it has to go to the ground. Okay, and that's why the second most common is from cloud to ground. Can it happen from the cloud to ground to cloud? Sure it can. Okay, it's not quite as common, but you know, it just makes you, instead of having a spark, what's the opposite of a spark? Carps. Goes backwards. And I don't know. Okay, but so
How do you unbite?
how do you unbite?
How do you unbite?
I'm not going to find out. All right, so it can happen both ways, of course. And there's other things too that can happen with lightning, not just cloud and ground and so forth. But those are the most common things we are concerned about, because we as amateurs want to protect ourselves, and that's the whole point of this thing. So 3,000 volts per millimeter. So the atmospheric static discharge, I don't know, what am I saying about that? Oh yeah. So if an accumulation of charge results in electric potential difference, I already mentioned that. So clouds have a lot of electrons difference. So if the cloud is at 10 million volts compared with the ground, what voltage is the ground? Well, the answer is we don't know, because I didn't tell you. Okay, so the thing is that the cloud might be 10 million volts compared with the ground, okay? But what if I said that the ground was already at a potential of 9 million volts, and then the cloud was at 10 million volts compared with that same reference? Then that means that the cloud to the ground is only 1 million volts apart, okay? So that's the difference there. The cloud doesn't have a voltmeter going around trying to measure its voltage, all right, or the ground potential. So all it does is it senses, because of the electric field again, the difference between itself and whatever else is around it. It's going, man, I'm getting really full here. I got to dump all these electrons. What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, there's Clip right here. And he's right near me. He's got his filling is exposed, and I'm going, let go of my electrons. Oh, I feel so much better. Now, so does the cloud emit all of its electrons? Yeah. And discharge everything to the ground?
Yeah. Well, only the excess current until they're equal, and then be neutral.
Until they neutralize, right? And so if the cloud was 10 million volts to some reference and the ground was at 9 million volts, you know, probably they're going to try to equalize a little bit, right? And in fact, you'll find out that they won't actually get exactly even. It'll get to a point where it reaches a threshold of where there's no more productive for the electric field to actually, transport all those electrons. Dalen?
Sort of a stupid question, but
Again?
Benjamin Franklin, what did he understand about lightning and grounding the house?
Yeah, and we're actually going to mention that, but Benjamin, I'll just answer you right now, Dalen. It's a great question, because Benjamin Franklin did some experiments with lightning, right? And unfortunately, several people tried to duplicate his experiment with lethal results. But what he decided to do was, instead of, so what he wanted to do was he got a kite in the air, and he got a wet string, and he tied a key to that string, and that key then was touching a Leyden jar, right? And it was really cool because, well, I don't know if his kite actually got struck with the lightning bolt, but he did get a lot of static discharge out of the sky from his kite, which led to that key down to his Leyden jar. And he learned a lot about that, okay? And what do you think he learned from that little experiment of his?
I don't know. I'm not asked a legitimate question.
No, that's good. No, because I ask a lot more dumber questions than you ever have, Dalen. And that's why I'm always wanting to learn in things, because my questions are so dumb. But the thing is that he learned that simply that number one, that there is a potential difference, and number two, that he can actually control that difference in some respect, because he was expecting to feel that charge. I'm not sure if that was a wise thing. Okay. Okay. Well, the thing is, there was a guy in England that said, Ben Franklin, he's an idiot. I can do better than him. So he tried the same thing, but with an iron wire that went up, okay? And he tried the key thing too, but guess what? The iron wire, he was connected. So he figured, well, Ben Franklin could do it with a wet string. I could do it with an iron wire, right? And get more current. He's figuring he can collect more current or more charge out of that key into his Leyden jar. He died pretty quickly too. So, and there were several others that tried the same thing.
Crispy critter.
He
The iron wire was a better conductor.
I don't know if he collected more, but definitely he conducted more. Yes, you're totally right, Joe.
First time he had that thought, it was a millisecond too late.
Yeah. He was collecting.
I'm not even sure if it was that long. So, okay, yeah. So he learned a lot of things, but he also decided that he would name this convention of this current that came down. And so he called one direction of this current positive and the other one negative. And it turns out now that we know he was backwards, but it doesn't matter.
So he put two and two together and figured that the electricity was coming down that string. He could do the same thing by putting a lightning rod on the house.
Yes, and so he actually invented the lightning rod because of that. He had, we're going to actually talk about that. Let's save that thought for just a few minutes, because lightning rods are important to us.
Are we talking about Benjamin Franklin?
Yes.
Invented the lightning rod?
Yeah. At least I think he
didn't do it before he died.
Yeah, well, he
also invented the he became the first one.
Yeah, he was a conductor. His father before him was a conductor. Anyway, so there we go. So the error difference between the different potential locations ionized, and that's what happens is the electric field difference between the cloud and the ground, or whatever is on the ground. Okay, just for a second, let me just pretend like I'm a cloud. I'm going to miss you, Cliff. I'm going to go by here, and as I'm the cloud collecting all these electrons, I get full of electrons. My wife says I'm full of something else, but so I get full of these electrons, and so now I just have such a high electric field gradient. I need to discharge this somewhere, and I can see this Earth below. Like, ooh, there's a great difference between me, my electrical field, and the ground. I want to discharge it somewhere, and I see this spot going. Oh my gosh, this spot is so very positive and different in potential than I am. I think this is the place I want to go and dump my electrons right there. But when it does, it doesn't say, let's see, which one is the tallest thing around? It doesn't do that. At least I have never done that as a cloud. And so I'm looking down and I'm kind of going, I just want to go somewhere. Okay, and so what I do is I say, I'm going to send down my field is already there. It's going to send down this huge field towards the Earth. And as it does that, of course, the Earth is going to actually respond by sending this field back to the cloud. Okay. Okay, to you purists, it doesn't send anything, but I'm just kind of making that up. But the field exists, and because of the electric field that's there, okay, that heavy potential, then what happens is all of a sudden, me, the cloud, I start going, I want this field to actually conduct my electrons away from me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up these little fake wires. And so what it does is it ionizes the air bit by bit as it goes down. And those are called leaders, and they're also called fingers, and there's other names for that too. But the ground responds by the same way. It also, because of the electric field and the opposite potential, it starts creating those leaders in the same way until it reaches up to that leader of the cloud. And when it does that, and then did I, the cloud, pick where to do this stuff in the leader? I didn't. I just said, high potential compared with him, I'm going to discharge. That's all I'm going to do, okay? Whatever on the ground was good enough to give me that leader, I'll take it and just discharge it there, okay? And that thing on the ground that gave me that other leader, that could have been your antenna. It could have been a tree. It could have been, yeah, a person, absolutely.
A person.
Yeah, it could have been someone on the lake, on an aluminum boat.
Sand on the beach.
So we can go on and on. And yeah, and as a matter of fact, it could be just you lying on the beach, Cindy. But if you're down on the beach, how could I ever strike you?
I don't know, but you get sea glass and stuff like that. It's melted. Sand.
That's true, you can. It gets pretty hot down there. Well, I'm not selective, and I can't choose what it is I'm going to strike. I just want something to come up and meet me. What do you think, Gary?
So you've got the like the positive electrons in the cloud, right?
Generally, no.
Negative, but
You
yeah.
have negative electrons on the ground. Is that what you're saying?
Opposite, but yeah, I'll go with that.
Opposite, yeah, opposite.
They happen.
Does it create like a magnetic wave? Is that the little feelers?
The feelers are not part of a magnetic wave. It's part of the electric field effect, okay? The magnetic wave is going to come in just a few seconds. They will happen.
Yeah, it's the movement of the electron makes the magnetic wave. So
Yes,
you don't
that's
have
true.
a magnetic wave until
Connection.
something happens. Okay.
So current makes it. So according to Orsted's law, you don't have that magnetic field until current actually starts moving. At this point we're talking about here, there's no current. No electrons have done anything. And
Like hopping from rock to rock.
yeah, eventually. Yep, that's
The
right.
ground rod is not going to attract it, but it's there in case it hits it.
Yes, that's a fair way to say that. And we would like to make sure that our electrons are going to hit our rod instead of something else, right? Like, my house.
Or a large portion.
What do you think? You in the hand.
You were mentioning, or someone said something about a boat or people walking around on the golf course and stuff. Does that create some kind of excitement or something like that on the earth, or stir things up a little bit by a person moving or something moving that's connected to the ground?
In other words, what you're saying is, can a conductor moving on the earth actually create a greater effect? I suppose. I don't know.
Swing that
What do you think?
fiber rod up in the air and you suddenly extend that feeler a little farther.
So because I've extended, not because I'm moving, right? He's talking about movement. I don't know that. But extending, you're absolutely right about that.
But why wouldn't movement to affect electrons?
If you move
Absolutely
closer.
could.
Yeah, if you move closer, sure. I would imagine. Yes. So it's kind of a yes thing, yeah? What do you think?
So, I'm a builder, and we build churches, and as soon as we put the lightning rod cables together into the steeple, we got struck twice fairly quickly. We were struck about maybe a month or two apart, two different times. So I would say that yes, if you put a lightning rod in, you have much greater chance of getting struck.
Okay. Huh? Kip?
Would that be because the lightning rod and the clouds, they're closer together, and so it's the first reaction?
So being up higher does actually increase your chances of getting struck. That's right. Yes, and that's a good thing because we want it to go through that lightning rod. Yeah, Frank.
Lightning rod also forms a point which increases the magnetic field, and so
Electric field.
It's going to be naturally attracted to that.
You're absolutely right.
Hey, Noji, you were talking about the fingers or the whatever.
The leaders, yeah.
Sometimes you hear people describe it before a lightning strike close to them or something, they hear a buzzing. Is that what that buzzing is?
I don't know about the buzzing, but I know people have felt their hair stand on end and that sort of thing. And those are leaders, absolutely. Yes. All right, so the air does tend to ionize because of that strong electric field between the cloud and the ground. So once its path is formed, then the charges start flowing and energy is transferred. So the electrons themselves don't travel all that fast, okay? But the energy does. I mean, so if you've ever seen a Newton's cradle, okay? I've kind of described this to people before, but so Newton's cradle is, you know, a bunch of balls here and they're just going, right? And these things don't swing very fast. They're not at all. But as soon as they hit, the other one comes out the other side almost instantaneously is what it looks like. And that instantaneous appearance is because the energy from this ball to this one got transferred very quickly, although the ball themselves didn't move at all, hardly. Electrons are the same way. Electrons don't move very fast. But once they start moving and they start colliding with each other and going down the conductor, okay, that energy travels really fast. How fast? Yes.
To the speed of light.
Yeah, 2/3 to 9/10 the speed of light-ish, depending on the conductor and type material. So they go very fast, but the electrons themselves not really that much. So what you're seeing coming down from the sky aren't necessarily electrons, okay? It's the energy. So lightning behavior. So many odd reports about unpredictable behavior. People are saying, "Man, I've seen lightning do crazy things, wrap up into a ball." Or okay, so some of you guys might. Since I'm on camera, I got to make this real, right? So some of you guys might know Craig Tierlink. He's a ham. He lives in Cedar Hills, well, because of this probably. But when he was living in North Orem, his house got struck by lightning. And what he had was an antenna on the corner of his roof. And at the bottom of his antenna was a ground wire that connected from there right to a ground rod, perfectly, just like you and I would do, okay? Except after the lightning strike, it showed that his antenna was not only vaporized, it was like melted, gone, took some of the roof with it. But the wire that it went down was almost completely gone, and then it stopped. And the lightning jumped from the wire over to his gas meter, destroyed it. Wait a minute. How's that possible? Yeah, but why? That's the question. So here he is, here's the antenna, right? And this is the wire that came down. This part of the wire connected to the ground rod right here, and here's his gas meter, right? And
you would think that the wire established the path.
Yes.
And that the lightning would have followed that.
Unless it melted.
Once the wire disintegrated, it was no longer the path. They had to find another path.
Well, it establishes a path once it starts flowing.
That's right.
But if it melts and disconnects.
Was it because that was the shortest path?
That is the answer. Not because it's the shortest electrical path, it's because it's the shortest path to the lightning. The lightning only is concerned about the electric field. That's all it knows. It knows nothing about conductors. It knows nothing about, how many fillings you got in your teeth, nothing like that, okay? All it knows is, I have an electric field, I've got to, discharge to another, lower potential electric field, and this is what it did. What do you think, Keith?
Well, you remember when you took your test for your ham license, learning about parallel resistors? The lightning can follow more than one path, and it will split between multiple paths based on the relative resistance of those paths.
One statement that always bothers me is when people say that lightning takes the path of least resistance, okay? That bothers me because, number one, electricity of any kind takes all connected paths, not just the, okay. To Keith's point, let's just say, for instance, here you have And this is for your experience because you already know this is true. Let's say I've got this valve has water flowing at about 100 gallons per minute going through this down this little guy here, okay? And I've got this part that has 90 gallons per minute going out of this one. Well, this is the path of least resistance because it allows more of the water to come through. And this path is small enough that only allows 10 gallons per minute to go through. So if I open the valve and all the water starts coming through that big path, is all the water going to come through here now? Why not?
There's enough pressure to go more.
Yeah, there's enough pressure from him to go both directions, okay? So if that's true, why do we insist on saying that lightning only goes through the path of least resistance, okay? In electricity, nothing goes through the path of least resistance. They always go through all the paths. This is called Kirchhoff's current law. And, but we like to say that because it's kind of fun to say, and we don't know what we're talking about. That's fine. We're amateurs, right? And that's okay. What do you think, Dalen?
Well, I think that if you go back to your diagram, your house, the lightning's coming down that wire, hit that antenna, comes down that wire, and all of a sudden it sees that gas meter, which is attracting from ground because it's a much better ground.
Exactly what Tiffany was saying. So when it got down to this point down here, it said, wait a minute, I'm still trying to react. I'm the cloud, right? And I'm the lightning. I want to react to the electric field. And when it gets to this point, it says, wait a minute, suddenly at this point, the electric field resistance, the impedance of this thing, is a lot less here than it is down here. So does that mean that no part of that lightning went down to the ground here?
No.
Well, no, some did, had to.
Still had some, but the
Yeah.
gas meter had a whole lot more.
KCL says that it definitely, some of it went down here, but the gas meter took the brunt of it, okay, because it was the path of lower impedance. It did. Not come down to the ground, but yeah, this part of his house got pretty charred up. Pardon me?
Every piece of electrical and electronic equipment in his house.
Oh, you know, Craig, yeah.
I know Craig very well.
Yeah.
He and I were good friends. He got into ham radio because I suggested it.
So what you're saying is thanks to you, his house burned down. Okay.
Yeah, the lightning is trying to find its way to ground.
Yeah.
And it found a way that was through his house, thermostat, his VCR, his
So all those paths.
the electrical control panels are aboard in his furnace. Every piece of electrical and electronic equipment in his house was destroyed.
But he's a good guy. I like him. He's a pilot too.
Advertisement for a 200-foot tower.
Okay. Well, hey.
Advertising for making sure that your homeowner's insurance is
Okay. First Adam, and then there's a hand over here.
So, would that lightning likely hit the house if he didn't have the antenna, or would that antenna really?
We're gonna hit that question. Hold that thought. Jim.
So what you're saying with all possible paths, that's why we see lightning branching on its way down, because it's taking all possible paths.
Ding, ding, ding. Yes, absolutely.
Well, since you mentioned it, seeing the lightning is that ionization through the air.
Yes.
As the electrons get released from that oxygen molecule. That's what you see.
From something.
As well as here.
That's right. Cindy.
So does this mean that I need to talk to my insurance company and tell them we now have all this stuff?
Not until your house burns down. If it burns down, and then if they ask you, well, wait a minute, I see an antenna, is it grounded? If it is, then they'll say, okay, it's safe. If it's not, they might actually deny your claim.
It's grounded.
If it's not grounded, they can deny your claim. Sorry, who said the policy here?
I said it's a good reason to check your policy.
Absolutely, yes. All right. So lightning doesn't seem to follow the rules sometimes. That's what we like to say. The fact is that lightning, just like everything else in the universe, follows all the laws of physics right down to the last letter, okay? Just because we don't understand all the laws doesn't mean that it doesn't follow it. But anyway, so why would lightning take the path of greater resistance? Well, we just saw why and the reasoning, okay? Kirchhoff's current law, and because what might seem like the least resistance to us might not to the lightning. So like all electricity, lightning follows all paths. All right. So there's one part of lightning that people seem to have a hard time with, and I'm going to try to make this really quick and easy. That's the high frequency components. So remember that lightning is a transient, right? And because that transient happens at a very high frequency. It comes and goes quickly. So because of that high frequency, however, it also produces components that are sums and minuses of that same frequency. And it's all spread throughout a lot of spectrum. But because of that, yeah, exactly how a transformer works. There's one problem with all that transient energy that we're talking about and the high frequency is that, as you know, high frequency energy also produces a skin effect. So lightning is not made of just one but numerous transient pulses. Many of these pulses have high frequency components. The high frequency components result in skin effect. That means that sometimes if you have your lightning traveling down the wire here, it's not going to be like DC and travel simply through the whole conductor because you've got this honking thing. Doesn't mean it's going to use that entire conductor. Because of that high frequency component, that skin effect might cause it just to go on the outside. And if the outside is not enough for it to, do all of it, it's going to end up going part of it somewhere else too. And you're going to end up, seeing the lightning go elsewhere. Well, dang. If it's going to do this, how are you going to protect yourself, right? The answer is you're going to have to do your very best. And things can happen. You can still get hit by lightning. You can still get your house destroyed in spite of things. But we're going to do our best. And that's why I'm here to help us understand what our best is. So the skin effect results in less conductor cross-section through which current can flow. And that means that the conductor has higher impedance. So if the impedance of one exposed conductor is high enough, much of the lightning current will often arc to another conductor, like we saw with that gas meter.
Does sodium help?
Sodium does help because it ionizes, like water.
So I'm not saying pour salt on your ground rods, but anything sodium soil that has more sodium in it is more conductive than some drier soils.
I'll amend that by saying alkali.
Okay.
So yes, absolutely. And that's why it works so much better. Antennas work so much better on salt water on the ocean than it does in, Utah Lake. So here comes the question, should you leave your coax plugged in or unplug it every time a storm comes by? That's always a question. I get that constantly. What's that?
It would be good to unplug it.
It'd be good to unplug it?
If you
I
can.
unplugged mine and put it in a glass jar.
You put yours in a glass jar?
I have a friend that used to watch the end of it arc across in lightning storms as a kid.
So about 3 weeks ago, I was over at Tom Wilkinson's house. He's probably listening. He said he's going to watch tonight because he's sick. Another sick person. It's going around, I guess, isn't it? Yeah. So, hi, Tom, if you're watching. Sorry, I'm going to divulge your secrets here. But I was at his house, and I was helping him put up an antenna and so forth on his roof. Imagine that. And while I was up on the roof, I saw this humongous black cloud coming over. I'm going, it's time to jump off here. So I got down, and sure enough, rumblings and lightning. And his daughter was in the house, and she was like hunkering down. And I thought, this is cool. I'm going to milk this, And so I said to her, come over here, check this out. So I took his coax, unplugged it from his HF radio. I said, watch. I brought it over back to the radio, and it goes zip, 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 like that. She goes, what is that? I said, it's lightning. She goes, what? So, and I knew that would happen because that always happens during a lightning storm, okay? Does that mean that his antenna was getting hit by lightning?
It's picking up that transient radiation.
It's getting a lot of static, isn't it? In fact, not just radiation, but also the electrons. But yes, all that, because as we're getting near the storm, we're getting a lot of static that's being collected here. The storm is bringing all those electrons with it. And suddenly, all that stuff is coming right through the coax. And she's going, do something about it. And I'm going, okay. So I plugged it back in. And after the storm went away, I went outside and I grounded her thing. Keith.
Years ago, I was of the camp of unplugged things.
Yeah.
And a storm went over, but it wasn't active lightning storm. But a bunch of clouds went over and so on. And I woke up in the middle of the night hearing this snap, snap, snap. And I finally tracked it down. The end of the coax was arcing from the center conductor to to the shield.
Oh, yeah.
Static would build up on the antenna. It would get to enough electrical potential that it could jump that, what is it, quarter of an inch?
Yeah. Oh, it's so fun because sometimes I would, I showed my wife that one time too, that very thing. I pulled it out, I just put my finger across those two and I could feel my body jump. It got stronger. And, I finally had to let go, She goes, "Are you an idiot?" I'm going, "Well, that's beside the point." But yeah, it's, it does happen, But yeah.
So what's the answer?
The answer is don't do this at home. That's what the answer is.
What's the real answer? I gotta go home with something.
So
do we plug it in or unplug it?
It depends. If you route your coax through a surge protector, okay, then plugged or unplugged really doesn't matter.
It does make a difference because it does burn up the surge protector, which only lasts, it has a certain life.
That's a good point. Yeah, once you've burned that thing up, usually it lasts pretty good though. If it's not a really strong, I don't know. I've never been struck by a really strong lightning strike, so I don't know for sure. But I think you're right. That
using it up as you do.
Yeah, you do. So, to me, it really doesn't matter that much, but as long as you got that surge protector on, you can take your chances. However, if you do not use one, actually unplugging it is more dangerous than leaving it plugged in, okay? Because leaving it plugged in, you've got a ground there. If you unplug it, then you've allowed yourself this arc. Even if that arc goes through a glass jar, if it's gone through a half a kilometer of air, 5 feet of separation isn't going to stop your lightning bolt. And not even a quarter inch of glass, okay? It's just going to take whatever it wants to do because of that huge electric field. The electric field is not stopped by glass, all right? It's not stopped by air. The air is going to ionize just the same way. So if you don't use a surge protector, when I say, so lightning arrestor, like one of these things, this one is by Alpha Delta. You can get one by Polly's Phaser and Morgan. But these things are so valuable, they'll protect your house. And they're required by law, by the way. NEC 810.15 says you've got to have one on your antenna. And again, if you don't, that's fine. Just don't expect to get your insurance paid, your house burned down.
Those things cost bucks now.
$70 a piece. Yeah, they're $70. Versus how much is your house worth? Okay.
No, it's how much my wife will allow.
Okay. Well, you can give her the same argument. Anyway, so you got your answer right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to skip this part because it's not really that relevant. Anyway, so when we talk, people say, well, it's not so, the surge protector will work fine as long as you don't get a direct strike. Well, what does that mean, a direct strike? That's what this is all about. So strikes come in a variety of servers. If I scuff my shoes and touch you on the teeth, like Cliff over here, is that spark lightning? Maybe. It's a discharge, right? So if I went to the store and I pocketed a 10-cent piece of gum, would I be considered a thief? Well, maybe not. But if I pocketed a diamond necklace from a diamond jewelry store, then I'd be considered a thief. So a label, who cares, right? I still stole something in both cases. In both cases, it's lightning. What do you think, Carl?
In the old days, I haven't heard this recently, but I have a habit of whenever I'm going to my shack, especially if I'm on my slippers, which collect static, I touch my ground bar before I touch my radio, because I know that I discharge there. I've heard horror stories, especially early on, where people walked up and touched their equipment suddenly doesn't work anymore. They either reset it or they have to go do a complete reboot or something on it. So I've gotten the habit of doing that just from walking across the carpet.
Okay, good. Discharge. Next time you see,
Other people have had that experience too.
well, next time you see Gemma, stay away from her, will you? Okay, so there are some really popular lightning myths. Okay, one is lightning takes the path of least resistance. We already talked about that. It doesn't. It takes all paths. My antenna will attract lightning. Well, if I put it up there, of course it's going to attract lightning, right? Well, no, nothing attracts lightning. Remember, lightning prefers this electric field, and it just seeks the ground somehow, okay? And when it gets closer and closer to the ground, and it finds that there are things there that might be sticking up to present itself, well, yeah, then that might be a more attractive thing. But even so, you can be taller, or your antenna can be taller than the thing that lightning actually chooses to go through and discharge. So it's kind of a hit and miss thing there. So will your antenna attract lightning? No, it doesn't attract lightning. And especially if it's grounded. And in fact, let me just make that really clear really fast here because we're coming to an end. And where's my... Oh, thank you. So, sorry, Jackson, I'm cutting into your thing. I'm doing this as fast as I can. So, so if I have an antenna right here, my antenna is composed of two parts, all right? The vertical radiator and the mast. The vertical radiator is connected through a discharge unit, lightning arrestor, onto the ground. And there's my ground rod and so forth, okay? Whereas my mast, okay, is connected directly to the ground, to the same ground, in fact. And this is how most antennas should be connected, just like this. Well, wait a minute, what is the highest thing on this particular, this is a vertical antenna, by the way, and this vertical antenna is sticking up just like that. So the highest thing that's presented here is this little guy. So what's going to get hit by lightning first?
Depends on if it's conductive enough. Because the mast might actually be more conductive than the antenna.
It might be, I don't know. The thing is, the answer is I don't care. And the reason I don't care is because, that's fine, is because if the lightning does, because of proximity, I mean, because let's say the electric field is over here and it chooses to strike the mast by the tripod instead, okay? That's fine because it's already grounded and I've got to wait for it to go and we're all safe, right? But if it hits this guy too, you know, or him instead, then what happens is then I've got this thing grounded through the lightning arrestor. Now, the lightning arrestor, this is my wire going from my antenna down to my radio. Here's my radio right here, okay? Just like this. And what is got inside this lightning arrestor are these points that are getting really close to the wire itself, to my antenna wire. And so what happens is as the lightning is hitting this thing, if the charge actually comes through the wire, instead of going to my radio, it will actually prefer to jump this thing because of the gap. Because again, the lightning reacts to the electric field, not so much the conductor. It doesn't care about what is conducting and what's not. It's not the conductor that allows the electricity to go through it. It's the electric field. And right here, the electric field is so strong because of those points. That's what it's going to take. Go ahead, Janet. Or no, Dalen.
All right, so you've got a ground wire.
Yeah.
And it's 18 gauge, solid copper, or you've got a 1/4 inch copper. Is the 18 gauge adequate?
The answer to me is no. But hey, if you've got a lightning strike that's not very strong, for instance, maybe it's okay.
We're back down to the service area.
Yeah, yeah.
So years ago, I
Mark.
placed the antenna on top of BYU's Kimball Tower.
Oh, yeah.
It took a direct hit.
Yeah.
And it had lightning protection around the roof. When they had redone the roof, the roofers forgot to connect all that lightning protection. And so our antenna took it and it sunk that through 16 Motorola Micor repeaters.
Nice.
They didn't even bat an eye. It melted the antenna.
Okay.
And a 1/4 inch by 1 inch bus bar.
Yeah.
Copper. So 18 gauge, but it melted that off the antenna and it had a lightning rod on the top. But it sunk all that directly through everything and our Micors continued to function. But it went through the whole building ground system.
So if I've got...
Everybody else in the building lost a lot of computers and stuff too.
I'll bet.
The potential for each of them went several hundred volts.
At least. So if you got something like this big giant conductor here, let's say this is, you know, what is that, about 1 foot across here? And this big honking piece of metal is sitting there in the middle of your yard. The question is lightning going to prefer that or something that is a little spikier? Let's say I have a spike sticking up like this. And so here you've got a lot more surface area where the lightning can choose to strike, or this little tiny point here. That's cool, I didn't know it could do that. Anyway, what you find out is because, again, the electric field determines what goes on. The electric field in this case that's being presented by the ground is spread across this entire area. Whereas here, that same electric field is suddenly concentrated up here. It's like, you know, all these cats wanting to come up and grab your fish, right? And so you got these little fish coming down from the sky, and the cats are all trying to come up to the same point to try to grab your fish. Or you got the cats spread out to try to grab it. So that means that something like this point is going to actually be more effective, and your lightning will actually choose to come over here because the electric field is stronger with him because it's all concentrated. Anyway, I'm going to finish this up here.
Question.
Sir?
Quick. What's better, solid or braided?
In my opinion, it is solid that's better because it's going to take more. Braided is actually better for RF, and it's better for the surface area to be able to handle more of the electrons coming through, but it'll vaporize in just a second, whereas the ground, the solid one might actually take more. So that's my opinion. What do you say, Keith?
Remember that it isn't the resistance of the wire that matters, it's the impedance.
Impedance, absolutely.
Lightning is a fast rising, high frequency entity.
Transient, yes.
And so you want something that is low impedance. At one radio site that we used a wide strip of copper sheeting that was like 6 inches wide. It was fairly thin, but it was like 6 inches wide. We used that as our ground. Anyway,
all right.
More low impedance.
All right, that's true. And I've got to get through my 5-hour talk here. But let's see. All right, lightning antenna attract metallic structures attract lightning. That is not true. They do not, because again, the lightning follows the electric field. Grounding makes lightning more attractive. It does not. Lightning only strikes the tallest objects. That is not true. Lightning victims can become electrified. That's my favorite one. I actually heard this from an electrician once. It's like, seriously, guy? Anyway, it's like you can walk around and zap somebody.
Stopping your ear and buzzing your ear is not electricity.
So protection myths, okay, if it's not raining, lightning won't form. Baloney. You can have lightning when there's no rain at all. You can get caught in an electric storm and shelter under a tree. Bzz, it'll hit the tree and it'll hit you right with the tree. In fact, the tree will actually help the lightning hit you. If you get caught in an electric storm, crouch down, reduce your chances of being struck. No, you're still going to be hit. If the storm approaches, find shelter in a baseball dugout, gazebo, or your front porch. No, because it's open again, all right? Once I installed my grounding system, I'm 100% protected from lightning. You're doing the best you can, but you know what? There's no guarantees. Anyway, so here we go. Ensure all your potential lightning paths are large as you practically can get them. That's why, by law, you have to have at least 6 gauge. That's the smallest you can get for your lightning wire, your ground wire. I use 4 gauge, that's my habit. Ground rod below each antenna, ground rod just outside your shack. Install a surge protector or lightning arrestor for each coax run. And then connect solid, there you go, for your bonding.
Do you use 4 gauge everywhere?
I do. You don't have to. You can use 6 gauge.
Code says 6, but more is always better.
Yeah. Let's see. You should bond. When it says bonding, what that means is you're trying to bring everything to the same potential. Even if you're 100 volts, you're bringing everything else to 100 volts too. But it also means that you're trying to ground something that does not have electricity normally flowing through it, like the cabinet of your enclosure of your radio. So bond all your enclosures and so forth. So personal protection, when thunder roars, goes indoors. That's what the thing says. Don't stand outside near utility poles, tower, guy wires. Don't seek shelter in open structures or your porch. Don't stand under trees. Avoid open water. And don't bathe or shower near it, plugged in appliances. Sometimes you can't help it, but do your best not to do that. But that's it. So there you go. Avoid lightning. My apologies.
Okay. Spin at the tap. Basically a random number generator.
Okay, they're going to tell me which number it gets. 70.
Wait,
oh, look at the thing. Who's number 70?
What?
Tell me what we have.
Tell me what we have?
What is this?
We have a J-pole.
And?
Bowfang.
And
Child correctional device. Light.
Child Club light.
Yeah. Okay.
No, wait.
Phone. Oh, 73 hat. Membership for ARL. Yeah. So we
All
got
right, so who was number 70?
70 Karen. Wait, yeah, you.
Karen! You won! Yay!
I'm gonna go with the membership.
Oh,
There
take
you
it.
go. Hold on. Gotta get the pictures. Come on. Should have had this out ready to go, Joseph. Daggone. Okay, hold it up for me. There we go. Bing. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Congratulations. Okay, next one. Spin.
Oh no. Low
Wheel
battery.
of fortune. I just say bankrupt. What's the number?
50.
50.
That's. Oh yeah, I think you were.
Yep, 50.
Yep, 50. There you are.
Who's John? That's me. All right.
That's him. You want? The radio?
All right, hold up here, John. There we go.
Wait. Remove. Spin. Wish this was a bit quicker. 51.
Mark. Mark. Right there.
Yeah. Wait.
Come on,
Yeah.
get it.
I'll take it to
Jacob?
Watch out, Dad. Up.
a friend that can get it.
There. Look over there. And kabow. There we go. 3 more things. Are you an electrician or what do you do? What's the number?
28.
28? 28 on the list?
28, that would be Chase.
Chase. Chase, number 28. All right. Got a hat, flashlight.
I got young kids.
All right. There you go. All right, we got 73 and a flashlight. Spin it.
Okay. Remove, spin. Come on. Give me a number.
Anticipation is killing me.
No. 15, and that would be Noji. Yeah, you got it.
Let's see. I think so.
Spin the next one.
Spin again. By the way, I found your presentation rather shocking.
It was electrifying. Or was it enlightening?
Really charged me up.
37, and that would be 3. Ralph.
Hold on. There you go. There we go. And the last one, final.
59.
Oh, okay, gotta pull the tab. Gotcha, I see it. What's the number?
59, and that would be Peter.
Peter.
Who's Peter? I remember writing down.
You Peter? Oh, who's Peter?
Did he?
He left. He was back here in the corner.
Okay, spin again.
Present Dwayne.
Remove, spin. An interesting little DJI microphone. 23. Jim M.
Who's Jim M? Right here. All right, Jim M. All right, hold it. Magic flashlight. There we go. Thank you.
Hey. There you go. Tiffany back.
I'll be positive on the thing.
Thanks. Give you
I didn't even thought you were doing that. Okay. So thanks everybody for coming. QSY to Taco Bell afterwards. See you next month, first Thursday in February. Thank you.